You have been sold a lie. Great gear will not make you a great creator. A better camera is not going to fix your content creation problems, and you have everything you need to get started making badass content today. I've wanted this one specific camera for a while now. I wanted to jump right from my iPhone, which I've been using for the past 4 years to make content and build the skills required to succeed in content creation. I wanted to jump right to full frame and get the Sony a7C. The original plan was to get the Sony a7C first, and that'd be my primary camera, and then one day get the Sony ZV-1. I wanted to have a double camera setup so I could have the ZV-1 for B-roll and vlogging and use it as a secondary camera, and then have the Sony a7C as my primary camera to shoot the highest quality video possible for the main A-roll. And then for podcast, I also wanted to have the ZV-1 be a secondary angle and the Sony a7C be my main angle. Since getting the Sony ZV-1, I have been a very happy customer. I've only been using it for a month now, but I've been blown away at what this thing can do for the size of it. The depth of field on this thing is surprisingly good. The resolution in the picture is just insanely high quality as well. It shoots 4K 30. The autofocus is mental. It is so fast and it picks up things without me even needing to actually think about it. Crazy slow motion up to like 960 FPS if I'm not mistaken, and up to 240 FPS in full HD. It's absolutely out of control. It's insanely multi-purpose as well. I can use it for talking head videos like this. I can use it for vlogging. I can use it for photo shoots or photography. It can do so much, and it fits in your pocket. I can take it out of my pocket like I would my phone and shoot whenever the moment happens. And those are the reasons that I've so far loved my ZV-1 experience. But the way the universe threw things my way and accidentally let me get the Sony ZV-1 first, I was just exposed to the fact that this thing might do everything I need and more. After about a month with the ZV-1, my finances lined up to get the Sony a7C, and I was so ready and so nervous. I experienced so much contraction, and I'm talking about like that gut punch, that like nervous energy in your solar plexus, and I wasn't sure if it was a clear no or if it was the contraction occurring from expansion. Knowing that I could easily reverse the decision by canceling or returning type of thing, I ordered it, and I was nervous and excited and feeling a lot of different things. But then I awoke multiple days in a row feeling like something was off. I wasn't really sure what to do, and I was definitely caught up in like confusion zone, I guess you could call it, where it was like not clear black and white. It was more just like gray. Instead of asking something like, is it ideal for me to get the Sony a7C? I started asking better questions like, is it even ideal for me to get a second camera? Is it ideal for me to rock a single setup with my camera? And I also did an energetic session to clear any resistance I had to getting a double camera setup and any resistance I had to having just a single camera setup. So attachment to having that next level here and potential financial resistance. And then here, resistance to like feeling, I don't know, like I have like less than gear or something like that. I also intended that whatever of the two options or another option to be shown to me clearly so I understand where my path lies. I sat with both options and I was really surprised at what came up. For one, I wanted to close the gap on quality immediately. I wanted that full frame to feel like I was a professional right from my first camera type of thing. I felt like for my fellow creators and potential clients, if I was to get videography skills under my belt type of thing, I felt like I needed to check that box for those creators and for those clients to feel like, hey, this guy is a legit professional. I was also incredibly identified with what would occur if I did have that second camera and what that would look like for me and my creation style and all of the potential opportunities that would come from having that second camera and that full frame camera. Though my mind was dead set on a Sony a7C, and I still am like this to a degree on a mental level, because I really do want that double camera setup and that crazy next level gear, I could start to feel at an intuition level that it was actually a better move for me to just rock a single camera setup. As I explored my options, I was blown away at what I discovered. My favorite creators did not actually use the greatest gear in the world, especially when they started. They can begin with just the most mediocre cameras and the most mediocre equipment, but it's their ability to tell a story that actually put them on the map and got them to where they currently are, not the gear they bought. When Casey Neistat started making films decades ago, he didn't start with a full-frame camera. Emma Chamberlain still uses an entry-level Canon M50. David Dobrik still uses
an APS-C
to film his vlogs. Go watch these guys' current content and their early content. They did not pop off because they had the best gear. They popped off because they are elite storytellers and have built the skill of wrapping you into their narratives and storylines and entertaining the living fuck out of you. There are tons of creators that are putting up crazy view counts, crazy subscriber numbers, and don't have the greatest gear in the world. Yet, there are also tons of people who have A+ setups. Everything is perfect, decked out Lamborghini of cameras, and they can't pull in the views or the subscribers or the watch time. Common denominator is how good of a story are they telling. At a certain level, there's only so much you can climb in quality before the changes are unnoticeable to the average person. Your audience does not give a flying fuck about your quality of camera anywhere close to what you do. Your creators, your fellow creators will notice. Your filmmakers and your audience will notice. But in general, your audience isn't subscribed to you for that. They're not here to critique your camera gear. They're not here to see how great your depth of field is. Of course, these are value adds, so don't get me wrong. But what matters most is the story you're trying to tell. In the past 2 weeks, I've been hardcore studying tons of vlogs, tons of videos, just to see like what people are doing, their pacing, their editing, their communication style, etc. Just to see where I match up type of thing and understand like how I can improve and how I can grow. But what I found surprised me, and that was there are so many imperfections, so many shots that I wouldn't have included, I would have got rid of, but it didn't matter because they were telling the story in such an engaging and an enthralling way that just brought so much value to their audience that it just worked. Regardless of the imperfections, regardless of the slight flaws in my eyes, it didn't matter because story trumps everything. It's also why podcasts work, for example. When a story is so on point, you do not even need a video to visually keep you locked in. It's why I'd also listen to, recordings from like early 1900s. Maybe that's like Napoleon Hill or Andrew Carnegie. The value is so high that it overrides my distaste of low quality stuff because the content value is just, as a quick aside, the most important in terms of ranking. It goes story first, audio second, lighting third, and video fourth. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to make a video on that because it is a critical concept within creation. In my own experience, I started shooting videos on my iPhone 4 years ago and they were trash and I knew they were not anywhere close to what I wanted them to be. But I just kept going. I kept creating. I kept putting in the reps because I knew that with every experiment, with every rep, with every shot, with every video, I was getting just a little bit better. I had to go through that. I had to go through that process that is making garbage at the start to build those skills. And now I can confidently say that I am a better video editor and I'm getting to the point where I can be a better storyteller than channels with literally millions of subscribers. Unless you're some naturally gifted filmmaker, content creator, whatever, you're going to have to go through that period as well where you are below your standards, and that is completely okay because you are starting with what you have and you're utilizing the resources around you to create and build those skills so that when you do have those skills, the camera becomes secondary. There's no amount of money, there's no amount of resources that is going to fix your ability to tell a story. It is your greatest asset as a creator. So when you don't have the resources you're after, whether that's the camera or like the investment money or the budget to do XYZ thing in business, whatever the case may be, you are given the greatest asset you could ever imagine, which is creativity and resourcefulness. When your back is against the wall, you are forced to come up with unique ideas, situations, solutions to execute on that challenge and solve it in such a a beautiful way while also allowing you to build the skills necessary to absolutely school people who have all that cash, who have all that investment, who have all those budgets and all those resources. But situations like that are where magic is born. Necessity is truly the mother of invention. In my situation, now that I only have quote unquote one camera and just a point and shoot, it is my opportunity to get creative with this. So for a podcast situation, for example, which was one of the biggest things that was holding me back and why I wanted to have two cameras for those, one shot here, one shot there, kind of like Joe Rogan style. So I was forced yesterday to sit down and be like, okay, what could this look like if it was going to work? And it reminded me of something I learned from Think Media just a few months prior. I could shoot in 4K. I could have person here and person here. So we're going to be facing the camera just enough and facing each other just enough so we have a connection with you guys and we have a connection with each other in the conversation. And then because it's 4K and there won't be a quality loss, I can zoom in on whoever's talking and pan back out when they're done talking. And it will look pretty damn good. And that wouldn't have happened if I had two cameras. I was forced with my limited resources to come up with a creative solution. And whatever the case may be for you right now, you have that exact same opportunity and gift as well. Now for me, I don't need a full frame. I don't need the top of the line camera to tell my story. I don't need a second angle on my podcast to effectively tell the narrative that I'm trying to get across. Of course, I still want a second camera. I do want the best gear in the game. And it's not to say that gear doesn't matter, because yes, at a certain point, it does matter. But it's about those incremental improvements in quality that do not matter as much to your audience as you might think. The Sony a7C versus the Sony ZV-1. It's noticeable and yet it isn't. Like I can get away with using a point and shoot right now and just creating enough value in my videos where it doesn't fucking matter. So at a certain point, yes, I definitely recommend upgrading your gear when your storytelling and your skills are on point for everything else that truly matters within your video. Someday when I feel aligned, I'm going to get a full frame camera and I might even get 2 extra in addition because I'm not serious about where I want this to go long term, and that would be like a badass podcast setup for me. But by then, because I'm creating with exactly what is in front of me, I will have built the skills to max out that equipment so much more than the person who waits to have the perfect camera to get started. This is a thesis I've been executing upon for the past 4 years. It all started with my iPhone. Now it's going to be the ZV-1. What comes after this, I'm not too sure. But what I do know is I'll just be continuously creating, continuously putting in the work to build the skills, because skills fucking pay the bills. Great gear will not craft that amazing storyline for you. Great gear will not get you that amazing angle. Great gear won't allow you to connect with your audience. Great gear won't communicate that badass moment. Great gear won't hook people into the narrative of the storyline. Great gear won't communicate the message for you that you're trying to get across. You do not need great gear to become a great creator. Yes, it will help. Yes, it will amplify everything. But what you need first and foremost is a good story. And then after that, we get into things like lighting, into things like audio and stuff like that. Video, of course, these things matter to a degree. But you have to start somewhere. I'm serious when I say you have everything you need within your control to create and tell incredible stories. But you must put in the reps to create those skills. Start doing things that your future self will thank you for, just in the same way that I am so grateful that I put those garbage videos out and just continued building my communication skills, my video editing skills, my storytelling capabilities. All of that comes from the reps, comes from the work. And then someday, after you've built tremendous assets that come with you wherever you go, when you're ready to upgrade your gear, you can do so knowing that you're going to max out every bit of potential within that technology. It's time for you to reach in your pocket and get started with creating. But it's only going to happen if you start.